Us. Good to see you. Welcome back. Thanks, Mitch, for joining us once again. Today we're looking at what's known in Japanese as Tai no Shinshuku. Tai or karada. Karada means the body, or tai. There's Japanese always have different ways of saying the same thing. Tai no Shinshuku, the expansion and contraction of the body. Okay, it's really, really interesting because it's also three main training rules for kata. Waza no kankyu, iki no chosei, chikara no kyojaku. Waza no kankyu, the timing of technique. Chikara no kyojaku, the points of power stress. There's time to be explosive and strong and bite in and contain your base. A good example of that, for example, is when someone's trying to snap you down, or they get a collar tie, or they're trying to push you. You need to brace for that. Okay. Other times you just let it flow. So you've got waza no kankyu, which is the timing of technique. Chikara no kyojaku, or the points of power stress, as I translate it, but it's often translated as the time for hardness and softness in strength. And the third one is iki no chosei, or breath control. Now, interestingly, another part of that is what Funakoshi Gichin described as Tai no Shinshuku, or the expansion and contraction of the body. Now, Mitch mentioned also before that it's not just in the stand-up ranges that we do it. We find application for it all the time in all the different ranges. Okay. Today we're just going to show you one area that I think is really interesting, which will make a big difference to your understanding of basics. And that is applying the expansion and contraction of the body in the kihon of the blocking techniques. Us, Rochelle. Us, thank you. Everyone remembered my happy birthday. I'm having a happy birthday too. Nothing has changed. Everything is normal. But I appreciate that. Us, Gazan, good to see you. Roland. Scorching Perth. Damn. Us, Chrissy. And thanks, Chrissy. So expansion and contraction of the body. Let me just demonstrate what I mean in a very simplistic way. So for expansion and contraction of the body, basically what it means is scapular retraction and contraction. Expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. If you had someone put their hand between your shoulder blades, what they should feel is your shoulder blades retracting together, and then the chest concaves. Now, how does that apply to the blocks? Well, in a very simplistic way, what you have is there's a contraction. You see my back round, and then expansion. So now we're here, contraction, expansion. You see that? So now I have that scapular retraction, which is expansion of the body. Once again, you have contraction, expansion. See that? Contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. The soto uke, the outside block, is actually expansion and contraction. So it's there. So that little movement here, as you get better at it, when you're defending the punching, it's just this movement across to bisect the line there, and then you get that expansion and then contraction again. So what does it mean? So contract, expand. So here's our blocks in basics. 1, 2, 3. I have the expansion, contraction. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All those blocks come off the expansion and contraction. Why is it important? Because no block is ever done with the arms. No defensive movement is ever done with the arms. Leverage is using more and more of your body against less and less of theirs. So this is where this expansion and contraction becomes very important, because now instead of using my arms for the blocks, I'm using my whole body. And by whole body, I mean the entire spinal chain. Okay. Another good example of how to do that in the Sanshin Kata, we're here. This movement here, see that? If I look at one application for it, is that somebody grabs my arm from the side here. Now, if I was to just use my arm, well, I get out of it just because of the grip, but if you had two hands on it, a lot of problem. But when I do it correctly in the kata, withdraw, look, expansion, and I'll just do it first. Expansion, so I can retract my scapula, and then contraction, expansion, contraction. So now instead of doing it just with my arm, now there's the arm, that's just the arm, nothing. Now I use my body against the same level of force, and it's almost impossible to hang on to. 1, arm only. 2, use the whole body. And that's just a very, very practical but clear example of why expansion and contraction, karada no shinshuku or tai no shinshuku, karada and tai, exactly the same words, just said differently. Why it's very important for developing that leverage in the body. And this is why we always say, be a Star Wars clone. You have to do the technique correctly. There's no point in doing 100 basics. Yeah, man, we do 100 basics every night, 3,000 techniques to get started. But if out of the 100 you do 99 are poor quality, all you're actually doing is training the incorrect technique. So sometimes you're better off doing 20 high quality, taking a little more time. So especially in the blocks, if your elbows aren't coming together, you're not getting the expansion and contraction. You're not getting see, everything comes off this contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, like that. And you have to be conscious of that expansion and contraction when you're doing your basics to make sure you do the technique correctly.
They're particularly applicable. I know when you do this wrist lock, I mean, Shihan's, like you said, they're in all the ranges, and we're just speaking about the kihon range today, but there's that wrist lock that, you know, when someone grabs you here,
yes,
and you do this, wrap it over, and then do that. That's the same kind of thing. Even though it's a small movement, you're using your whole body. It's a expansion and then contraction, shutting down the range and killing the wrist lock. It's just this is everywhere. And in grappling today, there was a round happening, and Shihan goes, "Look, expansion, contraction." Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was just like it's everywhere. This concept. It's
so to show you that what Mitch is mentioning, he means if somebody grabs a lapel. Okay, the first thing to remember is now this hand's out of commission, so I can always palm heel. The reality is, if he's pulling me in, I've got to watch out for that hand, okay, as I come in. So I need to make sure if he pulls me, I want to accelerate in, and that a block is a lock, is a blow, is a throw. That forearm block, that upper block becomes a forearm strike. Now the technique that Mitch is mentioning is I'm just going to simply take his hand and peel it off and lock it in. It's that easy, right?
not.
Zero chance of that happening. Zero chance. Maybe if I go crack and palm heel him, then do it, I've got half a chance. But why would I attack the lock with arm against arm, when leverage means more and more of my body against less and less of his. I want to attack his wrist with my whole body. How do I do that? I'm going to lock it in. Now, even if Mitch wants to get his hand out, it's pretty hard. And now when I do it, expand and contract. And if I did that quickly, it would literally damage the wrist. I don't know if it dislocated it, but it destroys something in there for sure. So now, if I do it like this, and Mitch is strong, I have no chance. But even if I do it, and I turn it, he's just going to pull his hand out, boom. Okay? What I want to do is lock it in. Now, if Mitch wants to get his hand out, it's almost impossible. There. So now all I do is I get the angle right, and then I just drop my weight. And believe me, if I drop my weight as I should, which is almost going from standing to Cesar, the wrist you'd hear it crack. But all I'm doing is going there, like that. And even under control situation.
It's a fascinating topic, this one, and it's something I know you've been reflecting on a lot the last few weeks. And this is an intro session into the contraction expansion. I know it's something that you've spoken about wanting to go deeper on, maybe at a camp or lecture series at some point.
Yes, even in every range, in all 5 ranges, there's the concept of expansion and contraction, and we'll do a series of videos for the Budo blueprint as well. For example, in the kick range, when you're defending in the kick range, I'm contracting here, and then I expand to take the leg away. When I throw the kick, I expand and then use the whole body to bring the kick through. I'm definitely not going to demonstrate that. I don't think I can kick above my chest anymore. But anyway, I was going to say waist, but yeah, I'm not that old. Okay, so that's a really interesting principle. If you've got any comments, please add them. If you agree or disagree, make sure that you add a comment below as well. I think if you can introduce yourself to this expansion and contraction concept, even in the punches here, when I'm punching. It's also talked about the hidden elbow. See, now if I have no expansion contraction from the front, you can see my elbow. And for all intents and purposes, I can make the technique look reasonably okay. But to do the technique correctly, I have expansion. The elbow is contracted back there, and then you get the whole body now goes from the expansion, from the contraction where you're pulling the shoulder blades together to contraction and then expansion again. This sort of movement there like that. And then the art becomes, of course, being able to do that without the extra unnecessary mudana dosa, as they say, the unnecessary movement in the technique. Anyway, it was just a nice short video, and I really hope that you can take something out of that and add it to your kihon training in particularly, and moving kihon especially. As you move, you get this connection between the legs and the arms, and that is particularly found with the expansion and contraction. You get what is also known as the arcs of tension across the body, left knee, right shoulder, right knee, left shoulder. And as you move, that arc of tension creation comes from the expansion and contraction of the body, like that. Thank you very much. Hope you got something out of it. I hope we got through that stream. Sometimes when we do it in this room, we love it here because there's plenty of space, but the connection's pretty average. So I think we'll keep our fingers crossed. We do have that Wi-Fi connection in my house, the mobile one. We should bring that down next time to see if that makes a difference.
Good idea.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. I didn't see a lot of messages, so I wasn't too sure whether we actually had connection. Rochelle, you were there from the start. Did we get there the whole way through? I hope so. Mauricio, Montenegro. Wow, beautiful. Montenegro, beautiful, beautiful country. One of the most beautiful countries in the world. Okay. Thank you very much, Mitch.
Thank you, Shihan.
Good to see you.
Happy birthday again.
There we go. Yep, happy birthday. I don't do all these people think they're being nice, but all they do is remind me that the body is just getting older and there's nothing we can do about it. Good on you. Thank you, everyone, and see you next week.